Hockey Nights in Vegas, episode 75, a tribute to a fan favorite, Ryan Reaves. Okay, we're not going to talk about Ryan Reaves this episode at all, actually. My name is Eddie Rivkin. I'm joined, as always, by Chris Chapman of Fox Sports Las Vegas. Lindsey Brown is on assignment in Australia, and she'll probably have big news about what she's doing down there when she gets back in a couple of weeks. This episode, as all, are brought to you by the Las Vegas Advisor, www.lasvegasadvisor.com, and by my good friend, Dr. John Pierce at Ageless Forever, www.agelessforever.net. Concierge medicine. He's the guy that got me to my beautiful slim self, and he can do the same for you if you're a bit of a big boy or big girl. But if you want to feel the best you can be, look up my good friend, Dr. John Pierce at Ageless Forever, www.agelessforever.net. So, chap, a couple of weeks ago, the sky was falling. Last week, it looked like there was a little bit of clearing in the clouds and a little bit of sunshine shining through. The pundits are saying the Golden Knights are back. The statistics say, okay, they're 6-0-1 in their last 7, 7-2-1 in their last 10, 9-2-1 in their last 12, 42 up, 25 down, 8 overtime losses, 92 total points. They are 5 points clear of the Los Angeles Kings, who have 1 game in hand, and that's really just about it as far as playoff race. It seems like it's pretty much come down to just seeing who's going to slot where and who's going to start where and things like that. But I ask you this, Mr. Chapman, are the Vegas Golden Knights that we've been waiting for since mid-October, are they all the way back?
I mean, it certainly looks that way. You look at the way they played defensively over the last stretch of games, and last night was a bit of an aberration, them allowing as many goals as they had when Logan Thompson was in net, and that was 3. Look, 2 of those were really just beautiful goals by Quinn Hughes. So I'll pat myself on the back a little bit and say I never panicked. I never thought that they were in doubt. Yeah, I got a cramp. I think reaching over.
I got a cramp in my okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think the way they played defensively, they played a couple games on that last road trip without Alex Pietrangelo and still got the job done. He comes back in the Minnesota game. They win that in really rare fashion, an empty net overtime goal, which is something that's, only 3 times has a team forfeited a point by pulling the goalie in overtime. You have to go back to 2003 for that to have happened. Previously, it had happened 3 other times. One of them is a bullshit time because it was a different game because it wasn't sudden death overtime. The first time it happened, Cecil,
the baseball player Cecil Cooper made
an
NHL appearance.
Cecil someone. Anyway, so he scores an empty net overtime goal after he already scored and it's Cecil Dillon, by the way. So it is actually not Cecil Dillon either. I don't remember.
All right, forget it. Next. Keep. Yeah, who cares about that? He scored his 40th goal.
So Marchessault's empty net overtime winner. Only the 3rd time in NHL history a team has forfeited an overtime point. Like I said, you have to go back 21 years to find the previous time. So a real rare error and a big goal for Marchessault as well because he hits the milestone number of 40. Of course, he got 41 last night. So he's encroaching up upon William Karlsson's team record of 43. And I think probably by the time the team comes back from their 3-game road trip, we will be looking at a guy looking to make VGK history if he hasn't done it already. But yeah, I mean, look, Eddie, they've played well, and it started with the way they've played defense, and that's been a signature of Bruce Cassidy going back to his days in Providence. You're going to play good defensively sound hockey, and the Golden Knights seem to have done that. They've limited rush opportunities. They really slowed down the Vancouver Canucks last night. a weird kind of game, a bit, I would say, a bit chippy, which is probably what the Golden Knights want, given that they are getting ready for the playoffs, and it's a team that they might possibly see in that first round. But they're back. I mean, I don't know what the switch was that went on for them to all of a sudden say, you know what, fuck it, we're back. It could have been that embarrassing loss to Columbus or the embarrassing loss to Buffalo.
I think that's pretty much what Will Karlsson said in the room last night. You know, his last I wasn't sure if you asked the question or if Jesse Granger at the Athletic, but he basically alluded we didn't like to how we ended up that road trip. And we've talked ad nauseum over the course of the last 3 months. Can they flip the switch? Is there a switch to flip? Will this team ever be consistent? Will they ever have the same lineup in the game? And those things, when we talked about them, they were all very current and they were very, they were on point. We weren't out there just sort of swimming around, splashing around looking for content to talk about. But ladies and gentlemen of the viewership, there is a switch. I don't know exactly where it's located, if it's in the dressing room or over there in City National or in the steakhouse at Red Rock. But apparently the Golden Knights had decided after that Buffalo Columbus thing where they gave up 2 touchdowns, I think, in 2 games, that they had enough. And I'm sure that Bruce had enough, well before that. But I'll agree with you. I still have some apprehension about the lineup gelling because you still have to reintegrate Will Carrier at some point. The rumor mill is buzzing that Tomas Hertl is going to make his debut on Friday night at the Mullet against Arizona. And then the great unknown of the captain, Mark Stone. So there's that one grain of uncertainty, but clearly they've decided that it's time for them to just show people who this team is and what this team is going to be in the playoffs. We have no doubt they're going to make the playoffs, right? That conversation's over with.
Yeah, look, you're 8 points up on St. Louis with 7 to go. I think it would basically take St. Louis winning almost every single game and Vegas losing almost every single game for them to overtake Vegas. And there's a team in between Vegas and St. Louis, and that's the LA Kings, who, due to the way they played on this previous road trip and the way they played last night, the Golden Knights have leapfrogged in the standings. Nashville is also below the Golden Knights now as they've come back down to reality. 3 straight losses for the Predators. So the Golden Knights are now, if we went by the old school way it was done, they would be 6th in the Western Conference as it stands. They are 3rd in the Pacific Division. So they would play the Edmonton Oilers and then the winner of the Kings and the Vancouver Canucks. Nashville would stay in the Central, but we've got a handful of games to go, so we'll see how it finishes up for all those teams. But I think it's pretty safe to say that the Golden Knights are going to make the playoffs. Like, I don't think I'm not going to waver from that now. So yeah, I would say they're, while maybe not a stone cold lock, the lock
they're getting there.
It's getting ready to close. And it might close by the time we do this show next week.
I have become addicted to listening to the NHL Network on Sirius. And that's a shameless plug. I can't tell you who most of the hosts are, but while Howard Stern is on extended vacation, like always, I found the NHL Network on Sirius satellite radio, and that was the wind blowing one way on the Golden Knights. There goes the wind blowing the other way on the Golden Knights. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The pundits are back on the evil empire. Nobody wants to play the Golden Knights in the first round. The Golden Knights don't care where they play in the first round. Where last week, we don't know if they're going to be there. I love listening to the national people Talk about our little hockey market here in Vegas. But the evil empire is back so far, and I'd like to give a very personal shout out to number 39, Anthony Mantha. I gave him a pretty good smash in episode 74. Clearly, he enjoys the Hockey Nights in Vegas podcast, because since episode 74, he has 1 goal, 4 assists, and has been very visible on a line with Will Karlsson. And they've developed some pretty good chemistry pretty quickly, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, look, that's just the way that William Karlsson is. I mean, it seems like it doesn't matter who you put next to him, he's going to make them a better hockey player. And we've seen Anthony Mantha, I think, maybe even exceed what the Golden Knights had anticipated when they made the trade for him this last week. I mean, outside of maybe Marsh or so, he's probably been one of their top 2 or 3 players, at least on the stat sheet, going back to that St. Louis game a week and a half ago. He seems to have found something with William Karlsson. Look, I love the line with Karlsson, Dorofeyev, and Mantha has been a nice addition to that line. But I think that's a testament to William Karlsson and how good of a player he is. And, you know, the fact it drives me nuts because William Karlsson doesn't have like numbers that jump off the charts. Like, he's got, I think, 26 goals, and I think he's got like 27 or 28 assists, which is it's a really good season for a lot of people. But he doesn't ever seem to really, and not locally, but nationally, he doesn't really ever seem to get the credit that he deserves for being such a unique player in this league. I mean, he's a driver. There's no doubt about that. But he does it so quietly. Like, he doesn't go out there and blow you up with, you know, ridiculous plays to score goals. I mean, he did year 1 in that clincher against the Sharks, but he quietly goes out there and he fucking kicks ass. And I think no matter who Bruce Cassidy puts next to him, they're going to have success. It didn't matter if it was Michael Matteo, who scored a goal last night. It doesn't matter if it's Riley Smith and Jonathan Marsh or so. They have success. I mean, it's just the way that William Karlsson plays. I mean, Pavel Dorofeyev they were showing some of his numbers last night in comparison to other rookies. Like, yeah, Connor Bedard is the slam dunk rookie of the year. And the kid from Minnesota is probably right behind him.
Yep, for sure.
But very quietly, Pavel Dorofeyev has had a really good rookie season, and he's done it in about half of the games that a lot of the other top rookies in the league have done it in. I mean, Dorofeyev, I think, is only played in like 40 something games for the Golden Knights. And I just want to go over his numbers. He's played exactly 40 games, 12 goals in 40 games. Now, I mean, you compare that to Connor Bedard, he's got 21 goals in 61 games. So in 21 more games, he's only got 9 more goals. Granted, his assist numbers are ridiculous, but he's a top line center. They should be pretty good. And I'm not making the comparison, and I'm not even going to entertain that people might be saying, oh, well, you know, you can't compare the two. No, you can't. But what I'm saying is Pavel Dorofeyev has had a really good rookie season. You know, he's hit the threshold to where if this team wins the cup, he's going to get his name on it. And I think he's become a guy that Bruce Cassidy really counts on and relies on. Now, what does that mean when Tomas Hertl, William Carrier, and potentially Mark Stone are inserted back into the lineup? I don't know. I would imagine he's probably going to come out, but that's a conversation to have when you have all 3 of those guys back.
It's a good conversation. It's a good conversation to have. All of those are.
Well, that's it, right? Like, you want to have, like, I mean, I've talked about it a couple of times on the Insider Show. We had a caller the other day who just was, you know, curious about what direction Bruce Cassidy is going to go when he's got his full complement of players. And look, I don't know.
He doesn't even know.
No, because I don't think Bruce is thinking if and when. I think he's just thinking about when he has. I mean, he's not getting that far ahead of himself. But I can get that far ahead. And, like I told the caller, I said, you have to look at it from this perspective. You're taking guys out of the lineup who are bona fide NHL players. You're not taking Mason Morelli out. You're not taking Jonas Rondbjerg out. You're not taking Brendan Brisson back. All three of those guys might turn out to be pretty good NHL players one day. Some might turn out to be great NHL player. But right now, they're AHL players. They're not ready for this level for 82 games. So when you have to have the conversation about who to come out, you're not having the conversation like, oh, well, this guy's in the AHL, he comes out. That's not the conversation. You're not taking AHL players out of the lineup when you have your full complement of players. As you said, it's a really good problem and it's a really good conversation to have. I mean, look, if I'm Bruce Cassidy, I'm ecstatic thinking of what could be if we get fully healthy. I mean, he's got his full complement of 8 defensemen. I mean, it's a shame that Ben Hutton, who came in and played pretty well, gets relegated back to the bench. Zach Whitecloud, who was a Stanley Cup champion last year, he's been healthy scratched since Alec Martinez came back. So, it's this team, the depth is just, it's kind of what separates them. Now, you can make the case that other teams have better higher end talent, and maybe they do. But what
Any of them
separates
got their name on the cup?
no,
Connor McDavid. Oh, excuse me.
no,
Connor.
no.
Sorry.
I mean, you have to go back 40 years to find it, almost 40 years to find that team with the name on their cup. But I mean, it's been so long ago for them that they don't even have a ring, right? They take it off after every 30 years. So those guys aren't even on the cup anymore. So I take that back. I got that backwards. The teams that won longer ago are off.
Yes.
So, nonetheless, no current player on that franchise who was playing for that franchise at the time has their name on the cup. So, it's a good problem to have if you're Bruce Cassidy, because like I said, you're taking out NHL players and replacing them with guys who are potential all-stars. I mean, Tomas Hertl is an all-star player. If Mark Stone's healthy, he's an all-star player. William Carrier, not an all-star player, but he's a really great fourth-line grinder. I think the key is to get healthy, and then you're going to have Hertl before the end of the season, barring some setback. I don't know what the status of Carrier is. We heard day-to-day, so that could be anything. But if you get Hertl and Carrier back, and you get really close to that clinching spot, you could kind of fuck around with your lineup a little bit just to try things out. You can even do it in game. Cassidy mentioned the other day that Hertl is probably going to start on the wing, but he eventually will move to center. And he added the caveat that he might even move to center in the same game that he starts him on the wing. It's really just going to depend on Hertl, and it's going to depend on the way that things going on the scoreboard. But I can't wait to see this guy playing for the Golden Knights, because, I mean, we saw him for many years, for years in San Jose, but the guy hasn't been in the playoffs in 5 years.
Long time.
So, 5 years is an eternity in the NHL. So I think for the Golden Knights and for Tomas Hertl, there's a real opportunity here. And it's an opportunity for him to make up for lost time.
So I've apologized to Anthony Mantha. We've covered Tomas Hertl. I want to talk about Noah Hanifin, because I think that people don't really get the magnitude of how good a hockey player he is. And so I'm going to try to not oversimplify it. He's not a super flashy guy. He's not a guy that's going to jump off of your TV screen right into your living room, but he does every single thing well. And the significance of his entry into the lineup. I mean, who's this Nick Hague guy? Yeah. That's the first question. Since Pietrangelo missed a half a dozen games with illness, and Hanifin started playing with Nick Hague, who is this Nick Hague guy? The other things that he does exceedingly well that you have to be a little nerdy to understand and to appreciate is his first pass out of the zone,
Yeah.
breaking out the puck. The Golden Knights had gone through some time where they were pretty constipated in their own zone. They just were blocked up and couldn't get anything done. Noah Hannafin thinks the game at an absolute 1D level. His first pass gets them out of the zone. Instead of up the wall, tic-tac to the center, to the F3 going through the center, and all that other hoi polloi, he makes one pass and they're off to the races. And this podcast will never get into stats happy stuff because regular people don't give a shit. But the Golden Knights are an awfully good rush team. And Noah Hannafin makes them an even better rush team. And the fact that he's taking a few minutes away from Pietrangelo, who did beyond yeoman's work, while Shea Theodore missed 30 games and has covered for basically everybody on the D when he was in the lineup. I'm impressed. I play defense. I think like a defenseman when I watch the games. Every single thing that he does either advances the Golden Knights offensively or stymies the other team rushing up the ice, trying to enter the zone, trying to make cross seam passes. So this is an absolutely shameless slurp on Noah Hannafin. And a note to Mr. Foley to call up the Brinks truck, and let's just get that done.
Well, let me ask you this. Is Noah Hannafin their best defenseman?
Is Noah Hannafin their best defenseman?
In the
Not
13 games
not
you've seen.
not yet. Soon though.
Okay.
Because
he's plus 8 in 13 games. 1 goal, 5 assists. Last night.
13's a little soon.
Mhm.
If they get a little jewelry again this year, then I would probably say yes. But right now, Pietrangelo is still their best defenseman, and I know
Has he played like their best defenseman since he came? Noah Hannafin.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
He's fit in absolutely 100% seamlessly. You know, he started off with Pietrangelo, and when Lindsay was with us, the three of us both said, this doesn't it's not really sort of gelling and feeling right.
Yeah.
And then Pietrangelo goes down, unfortunately, with an illness. And now Zach Whitecloud seems to be almost the odd man out.
Right.
Of the 6 that were in the playoffs and took them to the Stanley Cup last season. So I'm not willing to give the defensive crown to Noah Hannafin just yet, but he's 6 years younger than Pietrangelo. He certainly doesn't have near the miles on him that Pietrangelo has with all the cup runs and everything else like that.
Right.
So I won't anoint him, but if you ever watched like Game of Thrones, he's like the hand of the throne. He if they re-sign him, he's going to make the declining years of Pietrangelo's contract much more palatable, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think they're certainly going to do everything they can to re-sign him. But I think what he's done and what he's brought to the Golden Knights, what he's given this team is he's given them the ability to basically have two top pair D lines, or they have a 1 and a 1A, and then they have a third pairing of Theodore and McNabb, which would probably be at the very least a number 2 on most teams. He's made the best D-core in the NHL even better.
Significantly.
And, yes. And he was somewhat familiar with the system. Because he saw the Golden Knights a bunch of times playing in Calgary, but Calgary ran a similar system. But what you mentioned and his vision and his ability to get the puck into the offensive zone, it was something that this team was lacking. And I think maybe because Pietrangelo was forced to wear a couple of different hats while Shea Theodore and other guys spent time on the injured list this year. But I mean, I think from what I've seen, he if they re-sign him, he will be their best defenseman. And I don't even know if it's particularly close. I'll be the first to admit I didn't know how good he really was until I got to watch him night in, night out. Like, you knew he was good because you watched the Flames when they came to T-Mobile or when the Golden Knights went up to the Saddle Dome. But truth be told, I never really watched too many Calgary Flames games when the Golden Knights weren't involved. Watching this guy night in, night out, first of all, he's cool as a fucking cucumber. Like, you don't see him ever really lose his cool on the ice. And the few times we've had the opportunity to talk to him in the locker room, he's pretty smooth. He's a pretty smooth guy. I just think he's elevated. And now that all the pieces are back in place, this team is fucking scary on the blue line. And you've got three guys in Hanifin, Pietrangelo, and Theodore who are legitimate goal-scoring defensemen, but you don't even really need them to do that because they do all the other things pretty fucking good. I mean, Theodore, I think the knock on him is he's a bit, I don't want to say, he can be beaten on times going back defensively. I don't really see that with Hanifin. I see him getting back and making plays. Like, his defensive acumen is a lot better than I thought it was for a guy who was considered a puck-moving D-man. But Eddie, like, he's a fucking all-star if he stays in Vegas. And he's a guy who, if he sticks around, we could be putting in a discussion for a Norris Trophy next year based on the small sample size.
Sample size.
Yeah, the small sample size that we've seen of him. This is a guy who might have 65, 70 points next year for the Golden Knights if he sticks around.
You know, the beautiful thing is it's 95% his talent and 5%. Listen, and this is going to sound just really bad, and it's a knock on other organizations, but it's the truth. When people come here to play and they get embraced by the Golden Knights way, that's so incredibly cliche. They move them into a house in Summerlin, 5 minutes away from City National Arena. They get to play in front of arguably the best crowd in the NHL. It's not a kick in the pants, but that little oomph that players get when they come here that they got to see when they were visitors,
yeah,
it makes them a little bit better. And the culture, the winning culture, that's what Hanifin said in the dressing room, you know, when they were talking about since you've been here. He says, immediately, the winning culture, the way they take care of people, right? So we're basically seven full seasons in, and only one person has said that the culture was shitty. And he's toiling away in Washington somewhere.
Yeah.
So clearly, he's the outlier, and everybody else that comes in here, and even the players who didn't stay very long, the Teddy Blugers, the one and dones and stuff like that. When you come in, everybody rows the boat the same way.
Yeah.
And they make it easy. And when you make it easy for an underrated superstar, that's what I'm going to call Noah Hanifin, an underrated superstar. The lights of Las Vegas, I agree with you 100%. If he signs, there will be Norris consideration every year of the deal that he signs here. I have no doubt in my mind. And I mean, just talk about an embarrassment of riches. We're down to 7 games to go. Teams are starting to get riddled with injuries. Teams that were saying, "Oh, this is automatic." Look at Florida, right? All of a sudden, Florida's taking a shit. Nashville's taking a shit.
3
All
straight
these teams
losses.
that were running the Golden Knights over and making the pundits say, we're not sure if the Golden Knights are going to get there. Well, guess what? Daddy's back, and Daddy's got his swagger back. And I hope this is a wonderful clip for our new video editing toy that I bought. But anyway, yes, Daddy's back. And I think the Golden Knights are legitimately 15 deep up front and 8 deep in the back. Going in, I mean, barring anything happening between now and the beginning of the playoffs, Bruce Cassidy, if somebody has an off game, can just say, "Hey, go sit with Chapman and Eddie up there and have some popcorn."
Lots of popcorn.
Lots of
Bags of
popcorn.
fucking popcorn.
Lots of popcorn.
Listen, I'll share it. I'll share it with you, all right?
So this is the most wonderful time of the year. I know I've said that a couple times, but the playoffs have started. Now it's just a matter of jockeying for position. Bruce never says the word statement game. That's not his kind of thing. But tell me the truth, Chapman. That ass whooping that they gave to Vancouver last night, was that not a statement game, not only for the Vancouver Canucks, but the rest of the NHL?
Yeah, I think they put the league on notice that, party time is over. I like the phrase "daddy's back" because what it is mom and dad went away for the weekend, maybe an extended weekend, and teenage kids decided to throw a party. Well, mom and dad decided to cut the weekend a little short and come home in the middle of that party. And
The plot of every 1980s movie, right?
yeah, pretty much. Right? Fucking Risky Business and
Yeah, all of those.
Weird Science and all that bullshit. John Hughes.
Weekend at Bernie, you name it.
Oh God, yeah. Well, that guy died.
Yeah.
But it was fun while it lasted for the LA Kings and the Vancouver Canucks and the Dallas Stars and other teams who think they're going to dethrone the Golden Knights. Party time's over. It's time to get serious. And the Golden Knights listen, they've got an opportunity in a couple nights to make a real statement. And that's to go up and slap around the Edmonton Oilers in their barn. Golden Knights beat them the last time they were here. Look, it's a big game. I think it's a big game. I think it's a bigger game for Edmonton than it is for Vegas. Vegas they're not afraid of Edmonton. Edmonton's not in their head.
No.
I think Vegas
Not one
is
bit.
firmly like, what was the movie? I think it was with Roddy Piper where they had the data chip or whatever it was inserted into people's brains. But Edmonton is the plot of They Live, like they're just, Vegas has their number. And until Edmonton proves that they can win against Vegas in the playoffs, the Golden Knights are going to continue to, they're going to have a penthouse in Edmonton in the heads of Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Evander Kane and, Stuart Skinner and Evan Bouchard and whoever the fuck else you want to name. Adam Henrique, Sam Carrick. You're new to the party. Well, you're going to get introduced to it real quick.
Yeah, I'm looking at the schedule over here to my left. 7 games to go. It would be nice for them to smash the Coyotes because they seem to have a problem beating the Coyotes. I just can't even begin to tell you the reason.
Well, they beat them, I think, the last time, right down there. Was it 3-0?
Yeah, but they've had some fairly lackadaisical outings against the Coyotes.
Yeah, I don't
But
know why, but yeah,
but
you're right. They do
i-
tend to play down.
in the immortal words of Jim Ross, business is about to pick up
Yeah,
because after Friday night, it goes in Vancouver on the 8th,
on Monday.
uh, and then Wednesday the 10th in Edmonton. And that's bracketed on April 9th by a very significant holiday. That would be my birthday, if anybody wants to say something nice or mean about me. But it feels like the Avalanche game on Sunday the 14th doesn't really mean much.
No,
The Canucks and the Oilers, those two games are going to pretty much determine the seeding. And the Golden Knights have the opportunity to, like you said, put that chip in the head and just, hammer it in and suture it closed. So I listen, I think we're in as good a space as the Golden Knights are in as good a space as they can be in, because clearly the league is on notice. And I mean, do you have any care whatsoever who they play in the first round?
no, I don't think it matters because whoever they play in the first round, I think they're going to beat. So it doesn't matter if it's LA. It's probably not going to be LA, but it doesn't matter if it's Edmonton, if it's Vancouver, if it's Dallas, if it's Colorado. Whoever they end up playing probably is going to wish that they had finished in a different spot
So
because I just think Vegas has found it. You're going to bring Tomas Hertl in, and like I just think his addition, he's a primetime player. Like he's a guy who shows up in big time games and he firmly plants his ass in front of the goalie and
yes.
he says to the other defense, move me. I dare you to. And what it's going to do is guys are going to be focused on him. He's going to be screening the goalie. He's going to be tipping the puck in. He's going to be creating all sorts of havoc and chaos in front of the net. And it's going to make, and I think it's going to be him, Stevenson. And I mean, pick your poison, you know, but I think it's going to be a situation where you're just like, wait a minute. Their third line is not going to change. It's going to be Mantha, Karlsson, and Dorofeyev. And I think the simple switch right now is maybe you play Howden with Stevenson and Hurdle. I mean, it's a pretty fucking. First of all, you got some speed with Stevenson, and then you've got a guy who. I mean, I guess until William Carrier comes back, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe for now it'll be Amadio. My guess would be Friday, assuming Hurdle plays Friday night. I think it'll be the top line with Eichel, Barbashev, Marchessault. And then
Sure.
I think your second line will be Stevenson in the center, Hurdle on the wing, and I think Amadio will be on the other side. And then you'll have Karlsson, Mantha, Dorofeyev. And then I think your fourth line will be Brett Howden, Nick Watt, and Keegan Colasar. But when William Carrier comes back, the fuck if I know what we're going to see.
All bets are off.
Yeah.
Speaking of bets, I'm looking at this Western Conferencing. The Golden Knights are going to be the lower seed, it looks like, in their first round match. Are they going to be the underdog in their
No,
first round match?
no.
So they're
I
going to be a lower seed favorite.
yes, I think
The gambling folks, they're pretty smart. So they're
yeah,
not going to say this is a 2-3 and the defending Stanley Cup champs are the 3, so we're
yeah.
going to make them plus 140 for the
No,
series,
that's
right?
why I think they'll be the favorite. I mean, outside of maybe, and it's not going to happen. They're not going to play Colorado. I think Colorado would probably be favored over them. Um, but I think that, I mean, if it happens to be Vancouver, they're definitely going to be favored over the Canucks.
Oh,
And I
they're
think,
going to they're going to be minus 145 or 150
yeah,
against the Canucks.
if it's Edmonton, I think
Tighter, 115.
it'll be really close.
Yeah.
Um, they might give the edge to the Oilers because of the home ice, but
Could you imagine getting a plus value bet, right? Even if the Golden Knights were plus 105,
Yeah.
plus money on the defending Stanley Cup champs in the playoffs.
Yeah. Who's playing playoff hockey right now, by the way?
Right?
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott, feed me.
Feed me. Back to the Cowboys, by the way, for Zeke.
Oh, fuck the
Fuck it.
Cowboys.
Yeah.
Fuck
But
Jer and fuck everything Dallas, including the Stars, while I'm at it. We don't really have a predict. I guess the only thing that we can talk about to wrap this up, and this might be the second fastest episode ever, is they are 3 points behind Edmonton for second, and Edmonton has 2 games in hand. Edmonton is 5 points behind Vancouver, and Edmonton also has 2 games in hand against them. Just take a shot. Is this how it's ending? Or are we going to see a little juggle for the last 7 games?
Well, Edmonton has some tough games because they've got 2 games against Colorado. They're in Dallas tonight.
Us?
I don't think they're too concerned about Calgary. I don't think they're too concerned about Arizona. But they've got that head-to-head with Vancouver, and I don't think they give a fuck about the Sharks. So they've got 2 games with Arizona and 2 games with Colorado. They've got a game with Vancouver and a game with Dallas. I think those games, for all intents and purposes, will decide the division. I think if Edmonton goes 2-2, what did I say? 2 again? I'm sorry, they would. Those are 6 games that they've got at Dallas, 2 with Colorado, 1 with Vancouver, and
1 with us,
1 with Vegas. Those 5 games, they're the division for the Stars. I think they've got to go 4-1 in those 5 games. And I think
the Oil has to pick up 4 points in the game in hand games.
Right.
They have to.
Right. They have to beat Vancouver, which they haven't done this year. But they haven't played since like November. So I think that's I think it's how it's going to end. I think Vancouver will hold on by the skin of their teeth. And I think Vegas and Edmonton will find a way to play each other in the first round. Keep that rivalry going. I would prefer to see Vancouver, but I don't really think the Golden Knights give a shit.
Nah.
I mean, I don't think they're intimidated by Edmonton in the least, even if they've got to go up there and win a game. So, if you win one of those first 2 games, home ice is negated. So I don't really think that they care. But that game in a week's time, mark your calendars, because that's a big game. It's a meaningful game.
It is such a meaningful game. Oh fuck! I'm not going to be here. Damn it! I was looking for a pizza party. We've no pizza parties. Anything else you want to talk about? We kind of stormed our way through this with no notes. Covered everything.
I think we kind of were going to talk about who's the team MVP.
Oh yeah, let's wrap that up and kill off 5 or 6 more minutes.
Yeah.
I hate being a follower. I much prefer being a leader. But other people have already had this conversation, including yourself, who had it with Ryan Wallace on yesterday's Insider show and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's only 2 candidates.
Right.
And if you don't mind, I'll go first. The candidates are William Karlsson and Jonathan Marchessault. And instead of babbling on incessantly, I'm going to give you my pick, and I'm going to give you what I think is the perfect analogy as to why. Jonathan Marchessault, William Karlsson. My pick is William Karlsson. Last year's Stanley Cup playoffs, Jonathan Marchessault, Jack Eichel. My pick was Jack Eichel. Marchessault scored more goals. Eichel did more everything. This year, Jonathan Marchessault is going to outscore everybody in the history of the Golden Knights. But if you put the sum of their work together, And you can't say it's a level playing field because Jonathan Marchessault killed one penalty 4-on-3 and scored an empty net goal. But the sum of the parts, yeah, the sum of the parts, what he's done to elevate other players, young and established veterans, I don't want to say he's a more complete player. That sounds wrong. He's done more for the organization as a whole. 285 on the ice with the players he's been played with, playing down the lineup, not getting top 6 minutes. So in my opinion, as much as I love Marchie and he scores enormously important goals for this franchise, if I had a vote in the team MVP, it's William Karlsson.
You know, I'm going to use what you just said. He scores enormous goals. He scores massive goals for this franchise. I don't think there's a wrong answer here, but my pick would be Marchessault, and my reasoning is simple. The smallest guy on the team put the rest of the team on his back and carried them when William Karlsson was out of the lineup, when Shea Theodore was out of the lineup, when Mark Stone was out of the lineup, when Jack Eichel was out of the lineup. The one consistent has been Jonathan Marchessault for the Golden Knights. He's played in every single game. He's going to score 45 goals, which is unfucking heard of for a guy who was undrafted, a guy who bounced around from a couple of different organizations, found a home here in Vegas. He's doing it in a contract year off the pressure of having won and having to have lived up to winning a Conn Smythe. He's found a way to carry it over from last year throughout the summer and picked right up where he left off in the playoffs last year. I mean, the guy is unbelievable. He's a fucking mosquito, yet he's the biggest, baddest fucking mosquito you've ever seen in your life because he'll sting the fuck out of you, and he has no problem kind of rubbing it in your face when he does it. But
I don't think mosquitoes sting. I think they bite.
Do they bite? They have the little.
They call them mosquito bites, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, what a fascinating conversation. So we've never done this before. Why don't we put up a poll?
All right.
Because there's no C, there's no D, there's no E.
Yeah.
Viewers, who is the Vegas Golden Knights MVP this season? Candidate A will be Jonathan Marchessault. We'll give him that respect because he won the Conn Smythe. Candidate B is William Karlsson. We'll put it up in the comments on the YouTube page. We'll actually put it up when we post this episode on the Facebook page. And we'd like to hear not only just who you think is the MVP, but give us your most compelling argument as to why. Chris was very eloquent and everything he said was correct. I think that everything I said was also correct. There's no wrong answer. So we'll put it out to you, viewers of Hockey Nights in Vegas. Who is the team MVP? And we'll button up episode 75 on that note. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to the Las Vegas Advisor, www.lasvegasadvisor.com, your key to everything Las Vegas, and by my good friend, Dr. John Pierce at agelessforever.net, www.agelessforever.net, concierge medicine at its very finest. Thank you all for your loyal watching. There'll be a subscribe button. Smash the subscribe button down there. Follow us. We're on Facebook. The episodes are starting to get out everywhere, and we're very thankful for your loyal viewership. But vote in that poll. Let's get some comments going. Let's see what you, the fans, have to say about our Vegas Golden Knights. Anything else, Chap? Or are we done?
Talk to you next week.
Good. Perfect. We're out of here. Episode 75 is in the books. See you later.